She stood by the fence, the wind softly moving her hair, and for a moment it felt like the past was standing with her. But this wasn't a flashback. This was the start of something new and painful. Season 19 opens not with joy but with a silence that says more than words ever could. Amy is still carrying the weight of Ty's loss. She's stronger now, but there's a sadness in her eyes that tells us healing takes time. We see her trying to start her morning, but there's a hesitation in her every move. She walks into the barn and gently touches Spartan's mane, but even the comfort of her oldest friend doesn't bring a smile. It's clear Amy's still caught between letting go and holding on. She watches Lindy ride a small pony and smiles, but when Lindy asks about her dad, the silence hits again. There's a storm inside her that she doesn't show, but we feel it. Meanwhile, Lou returns home with a determined look on her face. She steps into Heartland, not just as a mother or sister, but now fully stepping back into her role as mayor. But something feels different. She's not rushing in with speeches and plans. She takes a moment to look around the ranch, her eyes scanning the fields, the stables, the porch where so many memories live. Lou seems changed, more careful, more aware. She hugs Amy tightly, but it's short. There's love, but there's also a strange distance. Maybe it's time, or maybe it's something unsaid between them. Then comes the first twist of the episode. A black truck pulls into the ranch. At first, nobody notices until Jack steps out of the house with a cautious look. A tall man steps out. He's not from around there. Amy walks out too, eyes narrowing as if trying to place his face. The man removes his hat and introduces himself as Logan's older cousin, someone connected to Amy's old horse therapy program. He's here looking for help, but the way he talks and watches the ranch makes viewers uneasy. Is he really here for therapy? Or something else? Amy agrees to hear him out, but Jack pulls Tim aside, whispering, "Something doesn't feel right." That unease spreads when Lindy suddenly says she saw a stranger near the stables the night before. Everyone brushes it off at first, maybe it was her imagination. But the way Lou looks around nervously and Amy's growing tension suggests otherwise. The peace of Heartland seems fragile. The episode's first moments remind us, this isn't just a peaceful ranch anymore. It's a place of healing, but also mystery. A new chapter is starting, and it may not be as quiet as the old one. Season 19 promises love, change, and danger all from the very first few minutes. And this was just the beginning. Nothing stays the same forever, not even at Heartland. The land may look peaceful, but inside the house, the family is walking on threads. Everyone's trying their best, but something's off, like a song missing its final note. Jack still wakes before sunrise, pouring his coffee and walking out to check the fences. But even the strongest man in Heartland is starting to slow down. His steps are heavier, and his eyes look past the horizon like he's waiting for something or someone. He watches Amy closely too, like he's afraid she's hiding pain again. He's not just the family's backbone anymore. He's their quiet protector. Tim is full of energy as usual, but this time, his plans are louder than ever. He's bought a new horse trailer and talks nonstop about opening another branch for rodeo training. He wants to push Caleb to manage it, but Caleb's unsure. There's a tension between them. Caleb's thinking about his own family now, not just horses and rodeos. When Tim tells him, "Don't let life pass you by," Caleb replies, "I'm trying to live it just differently than you." It's a line that hits hard, especially for Tim, who never slows down. Meanwhile, Parker has returned from her break, more mature but still full of that fire she always had. She wants to help with the environment on the ranch, suggesting new solar panels and water-saving systems. But her ideas clash with Jack's traditional ways. "This ranch was fine before solar power," Jack says with a grin. Parker shoots back, "And it'll be better after." The back and forth is playful, but it shows the shift. The younger generation is starting to challenge the old ways. Katie, on the other hand, is more distant. She spends hours in the loft with headphones on or walks far out into the fields alone. Something's bothering her. Lou tries to talk, but Katie gives short answers. Amy tries too, but gets silence. Finally, it's Jack who gets through. He sits beside her without saying a word, just passing her a cup of hot chocolate. "You don't need to speak, Katie," he says softly. "But when you're ready, I'll be right here." She nods, tears in her eyes, finally letting someone in. It's a moment that feels small, but changes everything. And then comes the name no one wants to say but everyone's thinking about. Georgie. Her absence is loud. No one knows exactly where she is, only that she's training hard and doesn't write much. But when Jack opens the mail one morning, there's a postcard. A simple message. Tell Phoenix I miss him. Amy holds the card for a long time before placing it on the shelf near Ty's photo. There's love in that silence and longing. Heartland's family is shifting. Some bonds are growing stronger, others are cracking quietly. But one thing's for sure, they're still holding on. Maybe not as tightly, but they're trying. And that quiet effort, that silent strength, is what makes Heartland what it is. Amy was always the heart of Heartland, gentle, strong, and connected to horses in a way no one else could understand. But this season, that heart is being tested. Again, not with grief like before, but with something even more unfamiliar. Hope. Episode 1 pulls us into Amy's quiet world with subtle emotion. She's not crying anymore. She's not breaking down. But that doesn't mean she's healed. She's just different, more guarded, more careful. She wakes up before dawn, not because she has to, but because silence is easier when no one else is awake. She still works with horses, still walks the land with calm confidence. But her eyes tell another story she's scared to feel again. Then comes the trigger that shifts her story. A new horse arrives, sent by a woman from a nearby town. The horse named Echo was once a competition star but has become wild and unreachable after a trailer accident. No one can get close. Amy agrees to help, but there's hesitation in her voice. Not about the horse, about herself. The first session is painful to watch. Echo thrashes, kicks the fence, and won't let Amy near. Amy doesn't flinch, but she doesn't push either. Instead, she just stands there. Hours pass, and Amy speaks softly, not to the horse, but to herself. You're not the only one who got scared, she whispers. That line alone is enough to remind viewers Amy's not just working with Echo, she's reflecting her own soul. And then something shocking happens. Echo suddenly stops, walks toward Amy, and gently presses its head against her shoulder. It's the first connection, raw, fragile, beautiful. But it's not just healing for the horse. It's a mirror of Amy's own need to trust again. The next day, Amy is visited by the same mysterious man from earlier, Logan's so-called cousin. He watches her session with Echo, saying little, just observing. When Amy asks if he needs help with his own horse, he says he's still deciding. But his gaze lingers too long on Echo, and even longer on Amy. When he leaves, Jack tells her, something about him reminds me of a mistake I made once. Amy brushes it off, but the tension lingers. Later that night, Amy dreams of Ty not in pain, not saying goodbye, but simply sitting beside her, silent, watching Echo with her. She wakes up breathless, but calm. It's the first time she's dreamed of him without crying. This entire storyline, the new horse, the stranger, the silent healing, shows that Amy's next chapter isn't loud or dramatic. It's slow, powerful, and filled with emotional layers. She's learning to open again, not just to animals, but maybe to people, and maybe even to love. But in Heartland, healing is never simple, and Amy's gift, her deep connection to animals, might become something others want to use. The path ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear. Amy's no longer just surviving her past. She's stepping into something new, and that changes everything from the outside. Lou seems like she's got everything under control. She walks with purpose, speaks with confidence, and smiles when people are watching. But in this episode, we finally see what she hides behind all that control, and it's not strength. It's fear. Lou's return to Heartland feels different this time. She's not just coming back to reconnect with family, she's escaping something. In one scene, she looks at herself in the mirror longer than usual. Not to fix her makeup, not to check her clothes, but to ask herself silently, am I still the same woman who dreamed of this place? Being mayor used to give her purpose. Now it feels like pressure. She's juggling too much to town. Her daughters, her fading relationship with Peter, and the silent tension with Amy. Something is building inside her, and it's starting to crack through her perfectly calm exterior. The first sign comes When she's alone at night, reading messages on her phone, one pops up from a name we haven't seen before. Rick. It reads, "Still nothing from the council. If this gets out, it's on you." Lou locks the phone quickly, but her hands are shaking. Something is wrong. Something political. Something secret. And it could affect not just her career but the ranch itself. She tries to keep it together around the family. She helps Katie with schoolwork, listens to Parker's solar energy ideas, even shares a quiet tea with Jack. But the mask slips. When Amy asks a simple question, "Are you happy, Lou?" Lou freezes. Her mouth says, "Of course." But her eyes say something else. That silence hangs in the air longer than any answer could. Things come to a boil when Peter shows up unexpectedly. They've been on and off for years, but this time, the conversation is cold. Peter tells her he's considering moving back to Calgary full-time. Lou tells him he should do what's best for him. But as he walks out the door, she whispers, "You didn't ask what was best for us." He stops, then keeps walking. Later in the episode, Lou visits the barn and finds Amy brushing Echo. For a moment, they stand in silence. Then Lou says, "Do you ever feel like we're just pretending we're okay so no one worries?" Amy looks at her, finally understanding. The sisters don't cry, they don't hug, but they finally see each other, and that changes the energy between them. Lou's story this season isn't loud. It's not about big fights or dramatic choices. It's about the slow unraveling of a woman who gave everything to the town, to her family, to her duty, and forgot to leave anything for herself. The cracks are showing now. The question is, will she hold it together or let it all fall? Whatever the answer is, one thing's for sure: Lou's not just fighting for herself anymore. She's fighting for Heartland's future. And the choices she makes in the next episodes could shift everything. Heartland has always been a place of safety, horses running free, family voices echoing through the fields, and the quiet comfort of knowing the land will hold steady. But in this episode, that sense of safety starts to fade. Something isn't right. And it begins with a broken fence. It starts small. Jack notices one of the main pasture gates is left open early one morning. That's not like anyone on the ranch. He closes it and doesn't mention it. But then Amy finds hoofprints leading away from the trail, fresh, deep, and heading toward the woods. No horses are missing. So whose tracks are they? Later, Caleb comes rushing in, his face tense. He was checking the barn at sunrise and saw something strange. Echo, Amy's new therapy horse, was out of its stall, pacing in circles, agitated and sweating. But there were no signs of forced entry. Amy is shaken. She knows Echo doesn't spook easily. For the horse to be that panicked, something or someone had to upset it. The team installs new locks and cameras near the barn, trying to calm each other with jokes. But underneath, everyone feels it. A quiet fear, like something is watching them. Even the dogs seem restless at night. Then comes the real blow. A storm hits overnight, short but wild. Lightning strikes a tree near the west field. And when the rain stops, Tim and Caleb go out to check the damage. What they find isn't just a fallen tree. The fence there, the oldest line near the edge of Heartland's property, has been cut. Not broken by wind. Cut clean with tools. Jack doesn't waste time. He orders new cameras for the outer perimeter and tells Amy and Lou, "Until I know who or what is out there, I want no one riding alone." His voice is calm, but it's the kind of calm that only comes from deep worry. Amy agrees, but it's clear she's thinking about more than just the fence. She's thinking about the stranger from earlier, Logan's cousin, the one who left without warning. Meanwhile, Parker makes a strange discovery while working on her environmental project. She was digging near the back of the barn to test soil when she uncovered an old metal box, rusted, locked tight. Inside, wrapped in cloth, were old newspaper clippings and a photograph of a man who looks exactly like the stranger who came to the ranch. But the articles date back 25 years. Parker brings it to Amy, who stares at the photo in disbelief. "That's impossible," she whispers. The atmosphere shifts. What started as simple accidents now feels like a deeper mystery. Is this stranger connected to Heartland's past? Is someone trying to scare them or test them? The family doesn't fall apart. Instead, they start to move tighter. Jack patrols more. Tim stays home more often. Amy watches Lindy like a hawk. And even Lou, usually distracted with work, takes time to double-check every door before bed. Heartland may still look like home, but something is lurking just outside the edges of it. And the ranch, once a place of open doors and quiet mornings, now feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for the next crack in the peace. Sometimes, the biggest changes don't come with thunder. They come in whispers and glances, in pauses, in choices that seem small at first, but carry the weight of a whole new future. That's exactly what we see in this part of the episode. Heartland is shifting, not breaking, not falling, but slowly becoming something new. Amy, for the first time in what feels like years, agrees to go off the ranch for a therapy session. Not just for Echo, for herself. She meets with an old friend from the horse world, someone who once trained with Ty. At first, the visit is professional, sharing updates, discussing horses. But when he gently asks how she's really doing, Amy's walls drop just a little. I keep moving, she says quietly, because stopping feels like forgetting him. The friend doesn't offer advice. He just listens. And in that moment, Amy realizes healing doesn't mean letting go of Ty. It means learning how to carry him with her, while still moving forward. Back at the ranch, Lindy has a small but powerful moment. She helps calm a nervous foal, copying everything she's seen her mom do. Jack watches from a distance, eyes misting over. Later, he tells Amy, "She's got your gift. It's time you let her use it." That one sentence stirs something deep inside Amy. Maybe it's time to stop protecting Lindy from the world and start teaching her how to face it. Tim, too, makes an unexpected turn. After days of arguing with Caleb about expanding the rodeo program, he suddenly cancels the project. Not out of anger, but realization. He tells Caleb, "I built my future in competition, but maybe yours needs more room for family." It's a rare moment of humility from Tim, and it leaves Caleb stunned and grateful. Meanwhile, Lou receives an invitation to speak at a major political summit in Calgary. It's everything she's worked for, but there's a catch: it overlaps with Katie's big school performance. Lou is torn. She wants to prove herself to the world, but also knows she's missed too many moments already. In the end, Lou turns down the summit. She chooses her daughter. When she shows up at the school, Katie's smile says it all. That one choice healed something words never could. But just as things begin to look calm, we're reminded peace never lasts long. In Heartland, the final scenes show a quiet sunrise, with Amy leading Echo through the field. Suddenly, Echo stops, ears perked, head turning. Amy follows the horse's gaze and sees a figure far in the distance, too far to recognize, but standing still. Watching, Amy shields her eyes, trying to make out the shape. But by the time she blinks, the figure is gone. It's a chilling moment, one that reminds us that while growth is happening, while healing is real, danger, mystery, and secrets are still moving in the background. The future is coming fast, and no one at Heartland is truly ready for how much it's going to change them. This episode shows that love, loss, and strength are not separate threads, they're woven together. Amy's heart is opening. Lou's priorities are shifting. The next generation is rising. And Heartland itself? It's no longer just a place for memories. It's becoming the setting for something far bigger than anyone expected. It ends the way all storms do, not with lightning, but with silence that feels heavier than noise. As the screen fades on Season 19, Episode 1, viewers are left not with answers, but with tension, whispers, and the unsettling sense that something has been set in motion and cannot be undone. The final scene unfolds quietly. Amy stands alone in the field with Echo, the horse that mirrored her own trauma just days before. The morning light is soft, but there's something sharp in the air, like nature itself is waiting. Amy closes her eyes and rests her hand on Echo's neck. For a moment, everything is calm. Then, Echo jerks its head and stares into the trees. Amy turns slowly and sees a figure, still and silent, at the tree line, not just watching, studying. By the time she blinks, the figure is gone. No footprints, no sound, just an echo of presence. And in that moment, Amy realizes this was never just about healing horses anymore. Something else is watching the ranch. Meanwhile, inside the house, Jack opens an old metal box he once buried after Ty's funeral. Inside are maps, land papers, and a journal entry with a warning. They came before. They'll come again. Protect what matters. It's written in his own handwriting, but dated over a decade ago. His hands tremble slightly. He closes the box and mutters, "It's starting again." Lou, too, faces a quiet revelation. As she tucks Katie into bed, her phone buzzes. A new message from the same unknown number as before. "You chose your daughter. Good, but they won't wait forever." Her face goes pale. She locks her phone, walks out, and stares out the window right toward where Amy saw the figure. So what does it all mean? The episode's final moments don't just tease drama, they whisper a new mythology, a deeper connection to Heartland's history, to something spiritual, maybe even supernatural. The reappearance of the stranger, the buried journal, and the cryptic messages suggest that the land itself holds secrets, and now those secrets are waking up. For Amy, the journey ahead won't be about moving on from the past. It'll be about protecting the future. For Lou, the cost of ambition may collide with the safety of her family.